My name is Ana Jorge, and I'm presenting this paper on inequalities in digital disconnection experiences in Portugal, together with my colleagues Nuno Nunes, Filipe Neto, and Maria do Carmo Botelho. We come to this work trying to bring together the fields of digital inequalities and digital disconnection, which has, to a certain degree, focused on ideology as responsibilization of the users, as well as individual well-being. To a certain extent, it has also focused on social differences in digital disconnection experiences. Only emergent work has brought together these two fields and focused on the first level of digital divide, talking about physical access, but also partly on capabilities, knowledge, and objectives. Our study was composed of a survey where we included 4 different sections, one on internet use, the second on perceptions about this use, disconnection, motivation, strategies and outcomes, and last the social categorization, which had age, gender and education as control variables, but also life stage, ethnic and religious status, migrant status, geographical situation, and economic status. This survey was conducted between February and April 2013 through an online platform, Qualtrics, and we got 1,618 valid responses, which are representative of the Portuguese population. We used non-probabilistic sampling method with the definition of 18 interrelated strata, combining age, gender, and education as control variables, and then weighing the variable for gender, which had a higher imbalance. We performed principal component analysis and also cluster analysis for the results we'll present today. And just to give an idea of the distribution of the sample in terms of gender, you have here on the slide. So for today, we will focus on disconnection strategies and how they are distributed according to age, gender, and education, and also life stage, ethnic and religious status, and economic status. Going straight into results, we can see that strategies to disconnect are used on average rarely or sometimes. The most frequently used strategies are putting devices away when people are engaged in other activities, and having household rules to limit digital media use. On the opposite end, the less frequent strategies are using screen time apps or having digital detox moments. So we performed PCA to understand how these strategies were grouped, and we found 3 different components. The first group of strategies is technical, with a greater association between the use of screen time apps or functions to control the use of internet, deleting apps and programs that are seen as taking too much of one's time, temporarily switching off the internet by using, for instance, flight mode or turning off the Wi-Fi, deleting or deactivating accounts of social media or email, and then deliberately using the internet only at specific times of the day. The second component is related to self-control, including strategies such as putting devices away when engaged in other activities, having household rules to limit digital media use, such as rules at dinner time, creating digital detox moments, leaving devices at home when one is out with friends or family. These strategies are related to control of the use of digital devices in relation to spaces, time, or specific activities, and are related to the whole use of digital devices. What we found interesting was the third group of variables, which we labeled self-preservation. Muting notifications from chat groups, in messaging apps, turning off email, social media, news, or messaging apps notifications, and unfollow or block contacts or accounts. These strategies are of a social and relational nature, seeking to impede the communication from others and the entailing disruption or distraction. Following the PCA, we clustered the respondents according to the strategies to disconnect and identified 4 different clusters in individuals in our sample, illustrated in this figure you can see on this slide. The first cluster, which we labeled uninterested, has an overall low score of any of the type of strategies. They barely take actions to disconnect or do not frame those actions as motivated by an intention to use the digital media less. In a second cluster, which we labeled the self-controlled, there is an overall higher higher score of strategies to disconnect, and self-control strategies are higher than technical or self-preservation strategies. The technical savvy was the third cluster we identified, with the highest score of all the clusters of each type of strategies, with self-preservation, technical, and self-control strategies being deployed. Lastly, the cluster which we labeled as self-preservers have a higher score of self-preservation strategies, but low for self-control and technical strategies. In this slide, we try to characterize the clusters, and we can see that among the uninterested, we find more men over 35 in terms of age, and also the life stage indicates that, who are independent or in a couple with older children or without children, with secondary and higher education, and with the highest percentage of employees. The self-controlled comprehend more respondents with lower cultural capital, elementary or secondary education, and more women with children up to 6 years old. This could indicate that they have less free time as a consequence of their professional occupation or their family role. Among the technical savvy, we found the fewest respondents expressing that they were part of an ethnic or religious majority group. 39.6% preferred not to answer. This suggests that those in minority or less confident to express they are in majority or minority may have self-controlling techniques available to them, but may not afford to engage in self-preservation. And while their level of education, mostly secondary level, allows them to deploy technical strategies, they do not put them to use. Lastly, a great number of the respondents in the self-preserves cluster have a higher level of education. They are mostly single or dependent or independent over 35, and that they are more expressive as part of ethnic or religious majority. This could mean that they can afford to refrain from social contacts in contrast with the previous group, which they might feel as overwhelming. So these social contacts might be experienced as overwhelming from family and friends. So to conclude, we highlight 2 main points. One is the importance of the relational aspects as a key component of digital disconnection, especially by the self-preservation techniques that we could detect in our analysis. And secondly, that this analysis, although it is partial, points to social inequalities at play in how individuals disconnect from digital media, both at the level of skills that are entailed in such strategies, especially technical and self-preservation strategies, which can also be linked with their cultural capital, but also in terms of the social conditions that make disconnection possible or less available, but possibly also less relevant for some of the respondents. Thank you.